When I was a couple weeks short of my 70th birthday, I started thinking about my mother's mother, who lived to be 100, and her mother, who lived to be 102, and my father, who lived to be 90, longer than anyone we had ever heard of in his family. I began to think that maybe our generation could be the first to routinely live to be 100. When I talked about this at family dinner one night, my granddaughter, who was 5, said,
"What are you going to do for the next 30 years, Grandpa?"
Hello, I'm Dr. Janet Price.
And I'm Greg Kalust. And we are Oldish. And this is our podcast, Oldish.
If you're oldish or know someone who is, please join us every week for conversations amongst ourselves
And our special guests
about what it means to be oldish in the 21st century.
If you ever wonder whether you're getting old, you're oldish. What are you going to do for the next 30 minutes?
Hi, I'm Greg, and I'm Oldish.
Hi, I'm Janet, and I'm Oldish. Welcome to this episode of our podcast, Oldish, Conversations on Aging in the 21st Century. We're very excited today to have a pickleball expert, someone that I know and have met on the pickleball court. Her name is Amy Gilmore. And so welcome, Amy. We're excited to hear about what it's like for you being oldish, your book, of course, and we'll just have a conversation that'll weave in and out of books and your book and books that inspire us and what it means to be oldish, how you got to this place in your own life of wanting to play pickleball and actually write a whole book about it. By the end, we'll talk about how you can get this book, and we'll be putting it up on our website also. So welcome. I'm so excited that I got to meet you on the pickleball court. And then here we are, however many months later, you've written a book called How to Avoid Pickleball Injuries, which I think is really important. And I just found your book to be delightful. I thought it was not only instructive and full of information and also humorous and fun. So welcome.
Hi, I'm Amy Gilmore, and I'm Oldish. A little backstory. I was a photographer for many, many years, and I have photography girlfriends going back like 40 years. And now we're all in our 60s and 70s, and some of them have decided they are old. And a couple of us have decided we are just older. And so older and oldish is kind of the same thing. You know, old is like a stopping point. And oldish is you have more life to live. And some of my girlfriends won't even, I can't try pickleball because there's all these excuses. And I have one student who's 80 years old, and a lot of my students are in their 50s and 60s. And you just have to play more gently, and you can be 8 or 80 and play pickleball. The court is half the size of a tennis court. You're standing right next to your partner. It's very social. The serve is underhand instead of overhand, and you're playing with a wiffle ball. So you're really not going to get hurt unless you're wearing the wrong shoes. The main thing in my book is I'm trying to prevent people from getting injuries. And there's books out there about pickleball injuries, but that's after you get injured. You don't need to get injured if you follow some guidelines. And the biggest one is wearing proper court shoes. Because what happens is, and this is what happened the first time I played, I was all excited about it. And of course, I had my 10-year-old running shoes on, and I tried to run backwards to get a ball, and I just fell flat on my back because running shoes are for going forward, and if you try to go back, it's like brakes and you just fall. Or you try to go sideways and you trip. And so if I said nothing else in this whole interview, I'd say buy court shoes, because they're for lateral movement, and you're not going to twist your ankle, which happens. You twist your ankle, you'll fall on your knee, land on your wrist, and then you get 3 injuries. But if you're wearing the proper shoes, that won't happen. So I will get back to that in a sec. When I was 55, I have a group of girlfriends, and I'm a professional photographer, and we'd known each other 40 years. And we always gave each other little Christmas gifts, and it had to be under $20. And one year, my friend Sue gave us all this book called Younger Next Year. Now, I was the only one that read it, and it was life-changing. And it said, lifespan is now going to be 90 years, and you need to be healthy and keep fit, or else you're going to rot and die. And the book is really funny, and it talks about all sorts of things. And it got me thinking, I've got 30 years left, not like, oh, when I'm 70, it's going to be over. It said in the book, you need to do aerobic activity 3 days a week. And then the other 3 days do like yoga or walking. So you need to stay active every day. And so I've kind of kept up with that. He talks about spinning in the book because most older people have, well, at least I do, have arthritis in their knees. Maybe their hips hurt. Maybe they have wrist injuries. So like swimming and spinning are aerobic, but they're not weight bearing and they're not going to hurt you. So I decided I'd go into my gym and try spinning. And I go in, and there's 30 people, and this instructor's like 25. And there's probably 8 people that are over 50. And I probably was one of the oldest ones. But I always tell myself when I try something new, you have to try something for 2 or 3 weeks before you can give up. So the first time I tried to spin, of course, I was running late, so I end up in the front row of the spin class. And this is where all the expert spinners are. And I didn't know how to set my bike up. And we were going up and down and fast and forward. And I didn't realize when you stood up to spin, you had to put more resistance on the pedal or you flew over the front of the bike. And twice, I almost flew over the front of the bike, and I ended up with a tricep injury. And I couldn't even do yoga for 2 weeks because I didn't have the bike set up right. And oh my God, it was awful. But I said, I'm going to keep at it. And so then the next time I went to the back of the class and I was riding, and I'm like, I can't keep, at this point, I'm 58. I'm like, the instructor's 28. I'm 58. What am I thinking? I will never be able to do this. And then I listened to Deepak Chopra, and he's like, age is just a number. Age is in your head. You can be 60 and be as healthy as a 30-year-old, or you can be 30 and as sick as, as a 60-year-old. So next time I went into class, I said, I'm 48, I'm 48, I'm 48. And then I still wasn't doing well. And then the next time I said, I'm 38, I'm 38. And then the next time I went in, I said, I'm 29, I'm 29. And I said that for 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, I was keeping up with everybody because I didn't have the mindset that I couldn't do it. So then I started trying squash. Then I tried, I've always been very active. I've played racquetball. I'm an expert horseman. I still play beach volleyball with my friends. I just don't say to myself in my head, I'm old. And luckily, my genes, I look younger and I got carded till I was like 40. But you set your whole head up to think, I can't do that. And I was just in yoga class Friday. And there's a woman my age who is a photography friend. And she said, oh, I can't try pickleball. I'm like, why not? And she said, I've had meniscus tears on both knees. And I said, I've had meniscus repairs on both knees. I've had bunion surgeries on both feet. I have a titanium knee. You are just making excuses. So people make excuses. And I wrote this pickleball book so that people won't make excuses, because pickleball is like recess for adults. It's addictive. It's so fun. You're just laughing and making friends. And you wear a Fitbit, you play pickleball for an hour, you've got 4,000 or 5,000 steps, and you burn 300 or 400 calories. So it's a way to stay healthy, make friends, get your step in, and lower your blood pressure. So your doctor's going to love you. But it's all, in my mind, and this is what your whole show is about. It's all, yeah, so I feel creaky and I get out of bed. And, every morning I have to lay in bed for 15 minutes and do my hip and knee exercises. But I do it and then I get up and I'm okay. But I don't get up and not do anything and say, ouch. So you can make excuses or you can be positive. And I just started taking West Coast swing lessons. So I've been salsa dancing for a long time. And then my two friends who are salsa dancers moved back to Brazil. So I love dancing. And I said, I'm going to try this West Coast swing, which it's just a fun dance, and it's couples dancing, but everybody dances with everybody. And so my new best friend is a woman who's 70, and she started 6 months ago. And I'm like, Jackie, you are going to be on this podcast because you don't look at yourself as old. And I don't look at you as old. And, a lot of these people who are there are in their 60s, 70s. Some of them are 80s. And there's 20 and 30-year-olds. But do what's fun, what gets you out socially, because that's really important as you age, and keep fit. And then you can just look forward to better stuff as you get older. Wow, that was a long speech. Any questions?
That was fantastic. I mean, I love what you said about old is equals kind of a stop. Some people that are thinking in that way are thinking of old. They're thinking they're old and it's a stopping point. But then you said oldish is you have more life to live. And we have been kind of defining what our meaning is behind oldishness ever since we started our podcast. I think that's a fantastic way to describe it. Is it can be a stopping point as we turn 60, 70, 80. It can be we're oldish, we have more life to live. And I love you brought humor into your book, and the whole idea of playing pickleball is like recess for adults. I found humorous and love it. You also just now talked about something that I found in your book as far as, and what I find in pickleball. And Greg and I are also, avid. We love pickleball. And one of the things I love about it is what you just said, as far as you said in the book, it's not just a sport, but a community. And that there's this multi-generational spirit. And that's what we need and are looking for our whole lives. And especially as we're aging, is community and getting out there, getting exercise, enjoying ourselves.
And another thing I say in my book is, because it's multi-generational, grandparents, instead of putting swimming pools in to entice their grandkids over, are going to put pickleball courts in.
Wow.
So now they can play with their kids instead of and they can play with their adult children. And the parents are finally playing with their 8-year-olds. It's something they all can do. So, it's such a connection. And a lot of times I'll have somebody call me for a lesson and they'll say, well, my husband and I want to learn and we're going to bring our college kids. And we all can learn together and we can all play together. And it's builds such a community, and it's everywhere. And it doesn't cost anything except buy the right pickleball shoes. People are you go to a court and people can't wait to give you tips and have you start playing. It's not like you're sitting, you're a wallflower. It's like, you're up next. Okay, she's new. Let's take it easy on her and give her some tips, you know. So it's good. One thing I do say in my book, though, is play at your own level. And as you advance, you can play more advanced players, but don't jump into an advanced game when you're new, because they're just going to run you around the court and it's not going to be fun. You're not going to get any points, and you might hurt yourself because you're trying to hit shots that you shouldn't even be going for.
Yes.
And what I always say to my partners when I'm playing, and you often play with people you've never even met, and I say, now I'm going to go for all the balls I can get, but if there's one that I think I'm going to sprain my hamstring on, we are not winning money or trophies. So until I'm in a tournament and money is on the line, I'm going to let the ball go. And they're
Yes.
like, oh, I didn't think of it like that. I'm like, yeah, I'm very competitive, but I don't want to be laid up for 3 weeks because I lunged for that ball. And believe me, that has happened to me. I'm 66 and I can play with college kids because I have the finesse, and it's not all about power. And actually, the harder you hit the ball, the more likely it's going to go out and you're going to get a point. So you just kind of laugh and dodge the ball. If you watch pro pickleball all the time, they're just moving to the side. There goes the ball. It's out,
Yes.
So
Yes.
Let's talk about the footwear for a minute there, because you talk about, in the book, you talk about the footwear quite a bit. And footwear is important. And most of the people that I know, including me, that have had a pickleball injury, you can trace it down to the footwear.
yeah,
I started off playing in a pair of basketball shoes that I had, and don't do that. Basketball shoes are not pickleball shoes. They bear
Right.
no resemblance at all to pickleball shoes. Plus, they look really silly. But I had them, and I
Right.
wasn't ready to commit to the game when I started playing. I had a
Exactly.
borrowed paddle, and I'm not going to go out and
right.
spend a bunch of money on shoes. You don't have to. You don't have to spend a bunch of money on shoes or other equipment. The only other equipment is a paddle. My first paddle I bought on Amazon for $25, and it came with a zip-on cover. I played with that for 2 years, and it was perfectly fine. And sometimes I wonder why I don't still play with it. And then I see people playing with $350 paddles, and it's like, what do you get that paddle for? You can't even, you can't get the ball over the net. What do you got a $350 paddle for? But most of the people that I know get addicted really quickly. And it's the case, and you say this in your book too, that you can get started by just playing with a friend who plays. There's a very high likelihood that your friend has an extra paddle. I carry 3 around with me. And the reason I carry the 2 that I don't play with much anymore is I might run into somebody that doesn't have a paddle. I said, hey, you want to play? But everybody's friendly. But the thing about the footwear is your feet are what keep you on the court. And I played a lot, and I did all the other stuff. I stretch before I play. I stretch after I play. If I can find somebody to get in the hot tub with me after we play, I'll do that. But there was a while there where my shoes were getting a bit worn, and I play outdoors almost exclusively, not exclusively, but I play mostly outdoors, including in the winter. And I found that I was wearing out I'd go to New Balance or someplace and buy some court shoes, and the soles would get torn up pretty quickly. And then I came across, through somebody you mentioned at the end of your book, some of the YouTube videos that you watch and some of the channels that you pay attention to. And the first one on your list was Better Pickleball. And we talk about Tony Roig and CJ Johnson on the podcast a lot, because those are my favorites, and I've learned a lot. They have a podcast which is about the mental game, and it's almost like going to a mental health guru. Tony Roig has a podcast of pickleball therapy. And anyway, they started talking about a brand of shoes called Tyrol pickleball shoes. And I had been through 4 pairs of shoes in 3 years, just tearing them up. I play a lot, and just
And
tearing
these
them
were
up.
pickleball shoes?
Pickleball shoes, yeah.
Wow.
Well, they said they were court shoes, but I would find that I wear out the soles, and the longer I wore them, the more my knees hurt. And so I went and I got, based on Tony and CJ's recommendation, I got a pair of Tyrol pickleball shoes. I've been wearing them for a year and a half. The first day I wore them, my knees stopped hurting because they're just balanced correctly and they have a Vibram sole on them. And they look almost new still after a year and a half. And I'll play sometimes 4 or 5 hours in a day. I play almost exclusively outside. So the court is some sort of an asphalt thing that tears
Right.
them up. The people that I see who get hurt or who complain about my knees hurt or my back hurts or something else are playing in, most of the time, they're playing in shoes that aren't pickleball shoes. So
Right.
I 100% agree with you that a good pair of shoes is way less expensive than a new knee. And I'm not saying that wear good shoes, you won't have to have a knee replacement, but I've played all over the country and I played with people who have knee replacements, shoulder replacements, hip replacements. One of the better players that I know is a guy who's had I think both hips have been replaced, and he's not as mobile as he used to be. But if you hit the ball anywhere near him, he's going to place it where you're not going to get to it. So he's very competitive. He's a very good player. So knee replacements, all those kinds of major bionic things don't make that much difference. So anybody that's listening to
Well,
this,
I have a bionic
go
knee.
play.
I'd beg to differ.
What's your experience?
Well, I've always been just talking about bionic knees. I've always been active and like jogging, kickboxing, and everything, and so my knees were very arthritic. And last May I got a new titanium knee, and I also do yoga, which gives me flexibility. So now I can squat and lunge just like any 22-year-old, but that's because I did a lot of physical therapy. But pickleball shoes. So a lot of pickleball is you're standing up near the kitchen line and you're just shuffling right to left, right to left, right to left. And if you have like running shoes on, I remember seeing a kid at my gym, he's like 22, I don't know. And he had crossed his legs, but I saw his shoes. And they were running shoes, and he'd worn the edges off both of them, the sides, because as you go to the left and right, that's where you wear it out. And that's where pickleball shoes are reinforced. They're reinforced, the ankles, the arch support, the support of a pickleball shoe just wraps up and over in the side. So you almost can't trip and sprain your ankle because they're so supportive. You don't want them too textured because then the surface of the court will kind of stop you. So pickleball shoes have just enough support, just enough texture. They don't slide, because Janet and I used to play on basketball courts that were taped off with pickleball lines. And if you weren't wearing pickleball shoes, you just slid because the court was so, a basketball court is so slidey, whatever you want to call it. So as soon as you put pickleball shoes on, you're not slipping or tripping. And so, yeah, pickleball shoes. And back in the day, which, the East Coast has gotten pickleball, maybe had pickleball 10 years. Boston, probably 4 or 5 years. I mean, I didn't even hear about it till like 4 years ago. And of course, all the warm climates, Arizona and California and Florida, they've been playing it for, 1968, it was invented. So they've been playing it forever. So I started playing at my gym and I fell backwards. And I'm like, I got to go find some shoes. So I went to a shoe store that sells sporting goods. And I said, I'd like some pickleball shoes. And they're like, what is pickleball? And I'm like, right. No one knew. And there weren't any. And then about a year later, they came out with some, but there were so few that it was like $150 to buy a pair of pickleball shoes. I'm like, I am not spending that much money. So I went online and I got some for like $125. Now you can get good shoes for like $39.99. So there's really no excuse anymore not to wear pickleball shoes. So buy yourself a $25 paddle, but buy yourself decent shoes. But I also have a thing to say about paddles. Greg, you said you bought one and it was fine for a couple of years. Well, I have students come and sometimes they lucked out and bought a set that were fairly decent. But a lot of times, I wish I was like the pickleball police and it says, this is approved by the PPA. I'm like, no, it's not, because this paddle weighs like 2 pounds. And pickleball paddles should weigh between 7.3 ounces and 8.3 ounces. And you're like, how do you know that? Well, I show you in the book how to read the information. If you go on Amazon to buy something, it'll say how much the paddle weighs. And if I have students come and they got their paddles at Walmart and they're wooden, and I have students that come and they have metal paddles. Now, if you play with a wood or a metal paddle, the vibration from hitting the ball will go up to your elbow and your shoulder, and you will get injured. Because a good pickleball paddle has an inner core that absorbs all the shock, and you don't feel the vibration and you are fine. And occasionally I've been teaching a class and I was demonstrating something and I picked up someone's paddle and I demonstrated for like 10 minutes. And then my arm was sore and I looked at the paddle. I'm like, this paddle is made of wood and it must weigh 1.5 pounds, which is twice the weight you should be using. So try to buy, and like I said about shoes, it used to be paddles were $150, and now you can buy a decent paddle for like $40. But you just want to make sure it has a honeycomb inside to stop the vibration hitting you in the elbow and the shoulder and the wrist. So that's the 3 things I say are the most important is buy the correct shoes. The second one is buy a paddle that is not too heavy and that has the core that will stop the vibration. And the third thing is to wear safety glasses. And a lot of people don't. And if you are playing with beginners, just hitting the ball around, it's not going very hard, you think to yourself, well, I'm not really going to hurt myself. But truth be told, I have hit myself with my own paddle trying to return a ball right in the forehead and almost put my eye out. So glasses now, you can buy a pair for $20. Save your eyeballs. So those are the 3 things that are important. And if your partner if you're not watching closely, your partner may swing at a ball and hit you with their paddle because they didn't see you. So it's not just your opponent hitting the ball really hard at you, because you're probably going to have time to shut your eye or turn your head. It's you or your partner that are going to accidentally hit you with the paddle.
Yes.
So
Don't trust anybody. That's some pickleball lessons. Don't trust anybody. I want to steer us away from pickleball for a little while because the people who are likely to be listening to this probably know a little bit about pickleball. I will say before we go away that if you want to play pickleball well and you don't want to get hurt, get a copy of Amy's book and read it and stretch before you play, get good shoes, get a good paddle, and wear safety glasses. All excellent ideas. And one of the things that you say over and over again in the book that I still see people doing is don't back up. Do not run backwards to try to hit a lob. That's when you're going to fall over backwards and hit your head. Don't do that. If you get Amy's book and you read it, you're going to reduce the likelihood of a pickleball injury significantly. And the worst thing about most pickleball injuries is they keep you from playing pickleball for a while, and that'll ruin your life. You have to be able to play.
Exactly.
So there we go. But there's a couple other things I wanted to talk to you about while we're still hanging out together. And one is one of the hallmarks of oldishness is trying out new things. And obviously you've tried out new things. You went to play pickleball. You learned how to be a pickleball coach. And also something else, because we're talking about your book, something else that you picked up at a later age is self-publishing a book. Yeah. So that's a whole new kind of an enterprise. And so you're doing what I think of as the hallmark of being oldish is trying out new stuff and not going to sit down and watch somebody else do new stuff, but you're trying out new stuff. And it doesn't take any athleticism at all to say, I think I'm going to write a book, or I think I'm going to publish a book, or I think I'm going to take up photography or whatever. You don't have to be an athlete to be oldish. And I'm afraid that people sometimes get the idea that we don't think that if you don't play pickleball, you can't be oldish. It's not the case. So you decided to go ahead and write a book about pickleball. And so tell us about that a little bit.
Well, my first book, which is on paper but not in print, I've been a nanny for 15 years. And I am also halfway through a postpartum doula training course, which is nannies that come in between birth and 3 months for the teeny weeny babies and help the families out. That is a new adventure too. But as I get oldest, being a nanny and carrying a pound toddler on my hip all day is bad for my back. So little teeny babies are 6 pounds to 16 pounds. And so I had to kind of segue into a similar but different type of being a nanny. And there's trainings. I go to 3-day weekend seminars. I read books. And just for years before I even tried this, I raised 2 daughters of my own, and then I've raised a dozen kids through being a nanny. But parents are always saying, oh, that's a great tip. You should write a book. And they've been saying this for 15 years. So I've been writing all my tips down. And the first book I was going to write was a baby book, like your child 0 to 6 months. But 10 years ago, when I was thinking of writing the book, you had to go to a publisher. You had to get your manuscript accepted. Took a couple years and thousands of dollars. And then, I didn't really research this part, but 5 or 6 years ago, Amazon came out with this thing called Kindle Direct Publishing. So you can write your book, put it into the software for book formatting and editing, which I used Adobe InDesign, which is not an easy thing to do, but I'm really cheap. And I did not want to pay somebody $2,000 to do it. So I kept at it and at it and at it and watched YouTube videos. And oh my gosh, it was torture. But I knew I wanted to write more books. So I didn't want someone else to edit and format it and then pay them another couple $1,000s in my next book. So I was determined to do it, and I did it. I mean, that's probably one of my biggest accomplishments in the last 10 years is learning Adobe InDesign. So now you can write your book, you upload it digitally to Amazon, they check it to make sure there's no copyright errors in it, and your book is on Amazon Book for $0. So Amazon gets, 30% and you get 60%. I guess that's out because then there's the cost of printing the book. But no one knows this. And I just found, not no one. Most people don't know. Kindle Direct Publishing, they do not print the book until someone orders it. So back in the day, You had to go to a publisher, have 100 books stockpiled, and then sell them one by one. Now you don't have to have any books. They just, you order it, they print it, they ship it. And there's no, anybody can do this. So whether you're writing a memoir or a cookbook, or it costs you nothing. They just get a percentage of it. So I will make a podcast on that.
What about art? So the cover of the book, and I also just want to put a plug about your book, that you have these wonderful photographs that help us see visually what you're talking about, including when Greg, when you're talking about basketball shoes, and I was thinking, that you had some photos with an X over it, like, okay, definitely no, that's a hard no for that one. So, but it's very helpful. But what do you do do you then, so someone orders the book and they print it out, do you have something that goes on the cover, or is that possible when it's done that way?
You can actually, Amazon, which I didn't use. I'm a graphic artist. I went to Purdue. I got a degree in photography and graphic design, and I've always done all my advertising brochures and all that. But Amazon actually has, it's not an app, part of Kindle Direct Publishing. You can use their library of book covers and pick designs. You can pick photos. You can go through them. And I don't think it even costs anything. I use Photoshop because I've known Photoshop forever. And I took all the photographs because I'm a photographer. But I see books online where people just use their iPhone to take pictures. So in this information age of easy stuff, you can use your iPhone to take pictures. You can use spell check to check your grammar. You send your book around to all your friends to proofread it, and you just pop it up there and have it published, and hopefully you start making money. Though you do have to tell all your friends on Facebook to buy it.
So I just want to say, I know that we're running low on time. I feel like we could talk for forever. I wanted to point out two things you just said that I think are so critical and essential pieces of being oldish. You were talking about that at some point you were segueing into activities that match being oldish. Specifically, we're talking about the size of the child that you're nannying and getting, moving to smaller children, younger children, and also the piece of just learning new skills. And so that's definitely something. And we've talked today about pickleball, but also about writing and creating books and finding out new skills for all of that. So I feel like for our listeners, there's a lot there, no matter if our listeners are interested in pickleball or not interested in pickleball. So something we like to ask people we talk with and have conversations with, two questions. What are you excited about as you're in these oldish years and heading towards continued aging? And what scares you? And those will be the last couple of things we get to talk about today.
I'm excited about pickleball, of course. Well, one thing is that I like to promote yoga. I've been doing yoga for 30 years, and I used to teach hot power yoga. And now that I'm oldish, I take gentle yoga, and gentle yoga is the fountain of youth and will keep you flexible, mobile, and spry into your oldish years. I'm excited about writing more books because I've got a half a dozen books in my head or on my computer. And there's a lot of things I'm afraid of. And if I told you, I'd have to kill you.
Well, maybe we'll skip that part.
Okay. Now, what scares me is ageism in being hired at over 50. Back in the day, you walked into a business, you asked for an application, you talked to the manager, you were face to face, and you got hired or you didn't. And I am still struggling even to get nanny jobs. You go online, it takes you 40 minutes to fill out this application. And then it goes to corporate, and corporate does your background check, and then it goes here, and then it goes there. Up until, I don't know how many years ago, 5 or 10 years ago, for a nanny job I go through care.com, which is a nanny posting service. You used to have to put your age on there. And at 52, I was competing with 22-year-olds and I wasn't getting jobs. Then a few years later, you didn't have to put your age and I got jobs. And now that I'm older, the problem is I never get to see the manager in person. And I just get a letter saying, we've reviewed your application and we've decided to go in another direction. So it's so impersonal. It's very frustrating. And it's also frustrating when you do get a job and some millennial is your boss and they're clueless.
Yes.
And how not to get fired. I've gotten fired a few times. So that's my frustration, is that kind of ageism. And so I just have to become a millionaire from writing my pickleball book and I'll be fine.
Go. There you go.
Well, we'll help you in that direction with any luck. We'll put links to your book in our show notes, and we'll say it out loud more than once. We have a blog, and I've already started promoting it on our blog and on
Thank you.
our Facebook page and all of that. It's a good book, and it's fun, and it's you're the third pickleball specific author that's come in and visited with us, and the books all have in common that they are oldish to the core and a lot of fun and very good things for people to think about giving to their pickleball fanatic loved ones or would-be pickleball fanatic loved ones during this holiday season. Of course, anytime during the year, but this holiday season in particular, they're good, they're quick, they're easy, and there's still time left to order them online and get them delivered to the people that want to see them.
I just want to add one more thing about my book is about pickleball injuries, but there's a lot of helpful information just about how to play with a partner, where to stand on the court. It's not just about injuries. It's about having fun playing and tips to play better.
Yeah, I kind of felt like as I was reading it that, so the title for everyone again is How to Avoid Pickleball Injuries by Amy Gilmore. And as I was reading it, I felt like you were presenting the whole everything about pickleball as we've been talking about today, from footwear to paddles. And I thought, as a prevention for injuries, if you understand the game, if you know how to stretch and before and after, if you know where to stand, how to position yourself, not only are you going to have fun and enjoy the game, but it's going to minimize the possibility of injuries. So if someone wants to order the book, they go to Amazon and type in How to Avoid Pickleball Injuries by Amy Gilmore, and it'll come up and they can order it.
They can just come to our website and click on a link, and it'll take them right directly to the page.
Right. Because my book is brand new and I haven't paid for advertising. So you'd have to scroll through several pages to find it. But if you go to the link, it'll take you right there.
Link on our website, www.oldish.me. You can find our other episodes there as well. And there's a blog with a link in it, our show notes, whatever platform you're listening to the podcast on. Our show notes include a link that'll take you directly to Amy's book, so you don't have to be wandering around too much. And I guarantee that if you're interested in pickleball at all, you'll enjoy it. And if you aren't interested in pickleball, but you read this book, then you become interested in pickleball and you'll be able to go have fun and make new friends and have a good time. So I'm thinking that as I'm overdue for a trip to Massachusetts to play pickleball with Janet. So next time I'm down in the area, we'll have to arrange for some pickleball play.
Yeah, the place we used to play totally renovated and now has 4, 5, maybe 8 dedicated pickleball courts with permanent nets, and it's no longer a basketball court taped off. It's really, what is it called? Martini's Indoor Pickleball. That's what it's called in Stoughton.
Oh, indoor
All right.
pickleball with martinis? Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
I'm in.
I know. I helped them design a logo, and I put martinis in it. And he goes, "I really like that, but I don't think we can go with that."
Well, martinis
No.
is a sports drink as far as I'm concerned.
There you go.
Yeah, so we'll go there. Well, this has been fun, Amy. I'm glad
Great.
that you've come on to talk with us and hang out with us a little bit. I hope you'll come back. I think we have more to talk about. Thank you, and good luck with your book and with your training. Maybe you could tell how people could hire you as a coach.
That's in my pickleball book.
Okay. All right. So get the book. You can hire Amy as your coach.
So you can go to Pickleball Academy at yahoo.com. That's my email. And you can send me a note and I can set you up.
Okay.
Sounds
We'll
good.
put that in the show notes too.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Amy.
All right. Have a
All
good
right.
one.
You
Thanks
too.
for letting
Yeah.
me chat.
Thanks. So we'll see you on
All
the
right.
courts.
Sounds good. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's it for now. Thanks for listening. We enjoyed our conversation with Amy Gilmore and discussing her new book, How to Avoid Pickleball Injuries, Have Fun, Stay Active, and Make Friends. It's a great gift for the pickleball fanatic in your life. You can find a direct link to purchase it in the show notes and on our website at www.oldish.me. Our next episode will be an all-new meeting of the Oldish Book Club with special guest Leslie Ross Degnan. We read and discussed It's Not All Downhill From Here by renowned author Terry McMillan. The book is an inspiring novel about a woman as she nears 70 and is a veritable handbook for oldishness. As always, if you like what you heard here, please like and review it wherever you listen to podcasts. It helps build the algorithm that leads new listeners to us. And please share it with your friends, especially the ones on Facebook you haven't actually seen in 40 years. And please have a safe and joyful holiday season, and don't forget to love everyone.